Welcome to The Explainer. Our whole goal here is to take these really complex source materials and just break them down into something clear, something dynamic.
Wow. Today, we're jumping right into this incredibly dramatic story, a series of events that really tested the very foundations of a brand new movement. We're going to see its leaders go head to head with the highest authorities of their day. It's a story all about internal discipline, public power, and, a clash of convictions that just refuse to be silenced. All right, so where does this all begin? Well, interestingly, it's not with some huge public miracle. Nope. It starts with a really shocking internal conflict. And this conflict, it establishes this powerful idea of the fear of God. And just to be clear, we're not talking about threats from the outside world just yet. This was all about them setting the rules inside their own house, so to speak.
So let's meet the key players here, Ananias and Sapphira. Now, they're a couple, they sold some land, and it looks like they're being super generous, right? But the thing is, their deception was about way more than just the money. For the leaders of this new community, this was seen as a direct challenge, a challenge to the integrity of the entire group. And this is where the Apostle Peter steps in. He confronts Ananias and he does not mince words. Look at this quote. "You have not lied just to human beings, but to God." Whoa, he frames this lie not as some petty theft, but as something way, way more serious, a profound spiritual betrayal. And just like that, the stakes are completely raised. This isn't just a community issue anymore, it's a divine one. Okay, so this is where the story takes an absolutely shocking turn. The deception unravels, and fast. First, Ananias gets confronted with his lie, and he just falls down dead. Instantly. Then, about 3 hours later, his wife Sapphira shows up, and she has no idea what's just happened. She tells the same lie, and boom, she falls down dead too. The consequences are so swift and so severe. There's no trial, no jury, no deliberation. It's just immediate judgment. A really brutal and totally unexpected twist.
So what was the result of all this? Well, as you can imagine, great fear seized the whole church. Of course it did. This event sent this incredibly powerful message to everyone in the movement. The stakes here are unbelievably high. It established this profound sense of awe and fear, all coming from within their own ranks. Honesty wasn't just, the best policy anymore. It was literally a matter of life and death.
Okay, so that's the internal situation. But now let's shift gears and see how this intense internal integrity actually fueled the apostles' power out in public. With their own house in order, their influence starts to just spill out into the streets, and I mean in a big way. So their influence just explodes. They're performing all these signs and wonders. Believers are meeting together publicly, and the general population, they hold them in super high regard. It got to the point where people were actually bringing their sick relatives out into the streets, just hoping that maybe even Peter's shadow might pass over them and heal them. Think about that. This wasn't some fringe group anymore. This was a full-blown public phenomenon, and it was attracting huge, huge crowds. But, this kind of growing influence, it doesn't go unnoticed. The authorities, the high priest and his crew, they were watching all of this. And all that public awe and respect, for them, it quickly turned into fear. And let's be honest, they were filled with jealousy. You can just feel the tension building, right? A confrontation was pretty much inevitable at this point. And here we go. That jealousy finally boils over into action. The authorities decide, okay, that's it, we're shutting these guys down. But as we're about to see, it's not going to be that easy. Things definitely don't go as planned. This whole sequence of events is just incredible. So step one, the apostles get arrested, thrown in public jail. Okay, standard procedure. But then step two, during the night, an angel of the Lord just opens the locked jail doors. Step three, the angel leads them out and tells them, hey, go right back to the temple and keep teaching. And so, by daybreak, that's exactly where they are, back in the temple courts, teaching. This shows a kind of power that's operating completely outside of human control. It is just a stunning act of defiance. Now, can you just imagine being the captain of the temple guard? The report comes back, sir, the jail was securely locked, the guards were at their posts, but the inside was empty. What? The place is locked up tight, but the prisoners are just gone. This leaves everyone, from the guards to the chief priests, completely baffled. They are scratching their heads, wondering, what in the world is going on? And this next part is just a brilliant illustration of how much the power has shifted. When they finally find the apostles and go to rearrest them, the officers did not use force. Why? Because they feared that the people would stone them. Think about that. The people with all the official authority are now afraid of the very public that these apostles have won over. It's a total flip of the script. Okay, so all of this leads to the dramatic climax, a trial before the Sanhedrin. We're talking a face-to-face confrontation in the highest court in the land. The apostles are dragged right back in front of the very council that told them to shut up. The stage is absolutely set for a major showdown. And here you can see the core conflict laid out perfectly. On one hand, you've got the high priest basically saying, hey, we gave you strict orders not to teach in this name. He's all about earthly law and order. But then you have Peter's response, and it's just so defiant. We must obey God rather than human beings. You have two totally opposing worldviews clashing right here, and there is just no middle ground. And Peter doesn't stop there. He doubles down. He says, we are witnesses of these things, and so is the Holy Spirit. He's not just defying their order, he's claiming his authority comes directly from God. That makes his position completely non-negotiable. In his mind, he's not even breaking a rule. He's just following a higher one. So how does the Sanhedrin react to this? Well, they were furious and wanted to put them to death. The apostles' total defiance just pushes the council right to the edge. Any chance for a rational debate is over. Execution seems like the next logical step. I mean, this is a real life or death moment. But then, just when it looks like it's all over for the apostles, an intervention comes from a totally unexpected source, and it completely changes the game. Enter Gamaliel. Now, this guy was a big deal. A Pharisee, a teacher of the law, and somebody who was honored by all the people. He stands up, asks for the apostles to be taken outside for a minute, and basically tells his colleagues, hey, everyone, let's just take a breath. Let's think about this logically. Let's look at history. And his advice is just timeless. He says, leave these men alone, for if their purpose or activity is of human origin, it will fail. Basically, if this is just some fad, it'll die out on its own. But, he says, if it is from God, you will not be able to stop these men. You will only find yourselves fighting against God. It's a brilliant, pragmatic argument. Fighting them is not only pointless if they're right, it's actually dangerous. So what's the aftermath? Well, the Sanhedrin is persuaded by Gamaliel, so they don't execute them. Instead, they have the apostles flogged, order them again not to speak, and then let them go. But look at the apostles' reaction. They leave rejoicing because they had been counted worthy of suffering disgrace for the name. It's this incredible paradox, right? The authorities use physical punishment to assert control, but the apostles take it as a badge of honor, a total victory. So, in the end, the Sanhedrin's punishment completely backfired. Day after day, they never stopped teaching. Instead of silencing them, it just reinforced their conviction. It fueled their determination. They went right back out there, more energized than ever. And so, this whole story leaves us with this really big, provocative question, one that echoes down through history. What makes an ideal worth suffering for? At what point does your conviction become more important than your comfort, or even your safety? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.